Now, from CBS 4 News, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Good morning and welcome to Facing South Florida. The Democratic National Convention wrapped up this week, and Democrats believe they did what they needed to do. In some ways, the lack of an audience worked to their advantage, allowing speakers like Michelle Obama, Jill Biden, Kamala Harris, and even Joe Biden to connect to viewers in a solemnity that matches this moment in history. But the convention will long be remembered for Barack Obama's speech, in which he made the case that nothing less than our very democracy is at stake in this election. All while Donald Trump was hate tweeting the event in real time and in all caps. There are, of course, other critical races. Later we will hear from Congresswoman Debbie Murkowski-Powell, who is running for re-election against Carlos Gimenez, who proudly embraces President Trump, who eagerly endorsed the county mayor. First, however, I want to introduce you to the man who almost certainly will be Broward County's next state attorney, Harold Pryor, who won the Democratic primary on Tuesday.
To let everyone know about me, my name's Harold Pryor. I'm a proud husband, I'm a proud father, I'm a proud attorney. I'm also a fifth-generation Floridian. I was born and raised in Florida. I've experienced the criminal justice system from so many different vantage points. I grew up in a rough neighborhood, but I was the only kid in my neighborhood that had both my mother and my father on the block. And so that had a profound effect on me. I've had family members who were brutally killed. We saw the criminal justice system treat them less than. I've had family members who had mental health issues, drug addiction issues, and we saw a criminal justice system demonize and criminalize them rather than actually get them the help that they need. I worked hard in high school. Excelled in academics and sports. I then went to the University of Florida. And then after graduating from the University of Florida, I went to Nova Law right down here in Fort Lauderdale. And I think I loved it a little bit too much, met my wife, and decided to stay down here.
So tell me a little bit more about when you say grew up in a rough neighborhood, had family members who have been shot and killed. Can you give us a little bit more sense of that experience and how you think it shapes you as you move forward today?
Well, growing up in that type of environment, I can only tell you from my life experience, you either succumb to the pressures that are around you, right? Or you decide that you're going to do something to change it. From the age of 14 all the way up until 2 years ago, I've lost friends and family members to gun violence. I lost a first cousin of mine to gun violence. He was brutally murdered. And another one of my cousins who was also with him, he was shot. He was in a coma for a few days, and he came out and he recovered after a few months later. And so gun violence has decimated so many communities here in the state of Florida, but also in the country, and also given the Marjory Stoneman Douglas massacre. And so I've experienced that. I understand. I know what it feels like to go to a personal close friend's funeral or a loved one's funeral, and all due to the evils of gun violence. And so that's had a profound effect on me. It's had an effect on me in wanting to go to law school. I went to law school not to make money or be a high-powered attorney. It was actually to make a change. And so that was why I became a prosecutor. I learned very early on, from an early age all the way into law school, that prosecutors, state attorneys, have an incredible power. They have the power to decide sometimes life and death. They have the power to determine if someone can have a second or third chance. They have the power to determine if we are going to give children a second chance. They have an opportunity to eradicate the school to prison pipeline. And so my life experiences have influenced me all the way up until this point. And I think it's awesome. And I think it's great that we can have state attorneys that have that perspective, that have that little real life perspective, that can bring it to the courtroom, that can bring it to the state attorney's office and impart that information upon the subordinates to ensure that we're initiating this ground level criminal justice reform we're talking about, but also doing that without compromising the safety of our communities.
What was the impetus? What made you decide to get into this race?
It was a combination of a lot of things. It was a combination of my life experiences, what I talked about earlier, but also the events of Trayvon Martin, the issue of police brutality throughout the country, the mass incarceration issue that we've seen in this country, and not just the mass incarceration issue, but the sentencing disparities based on race. That had a profound effect on me. And I looked at the world around me. I looked at myself and saw that I had particular skill set and talents and gifts. And I just felt that I couldn't waste it in a time like this. I was compelled to get involved. I was compelled to throw my hat in the ring because everyone's talking about criminal justice reform, but not many have actually experienced it, and not many can do it responsibly like I can, and I actually understand our communities and how we need to initiate that. When I served at the state attorney's office, I worked hard to ensure that I utilized my discretion, that I utilized my common sense, I utilized sound reason and analytical skills to ensure that we had the right outcome in a particular case. I can say I went to sleep every night comfortably knowing that every day I did the right thing, or I pursued to do the right thing, and that justice was sought in every outcome. I often say, and I always said then as a prosecutor, that it wasn't about wins or losses when I took a case to trial. It was either guilty or not guilty. And sometimes justice is a not guilty verdict. Sometimes justice is a guilty verdict. Sometimes justice is us just outright dropping a case because the facts aren't there.
Now, there are some people who will listen to this, will hear what you're saying, and think to themselves, that's not what I want in a state attorney. I want a state attorney who's looking for blood every day. I want a state attorney who's going to go in there and fight the bad guys in a way that will do, that will protect us, that will worry more about the victims than worrying about the rights of the criminals.
Well, I think that's a common misconception. I say this all the time. It doesn't matter where you grew up, doesn't matter your walk of life, your race, color, gender, or creed. We all want safer communities, right? Let's be clear on that. Doesn't matter if you live in Lighthouse Point, doesn't matter if you live in Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach, Sistrunk, what have you, Hollandale Beach. We all want safer communities. And so as an ex-state attorney, I acknowledge that we have a system that has been traditionally stacked against people of color and poor people. But also we have to have a criminal justice system that comports with justice, fairness, and equality. I want to initiate ground level criminal justice reform while not compromising the safety of our communities. That's two-part. So we have this thing we've been talking about throughout the country, criminal justice reform, but many people forget that we have to ensure that we have the safety of our communities as a paramount goal. And so I want to initiate this ground level criminal justice reform, but I want to do it responsibly. I want to do it prudently, and I want to ensure that we're keeping our communities safe.
Do you believe there is systemic racism, both in terms of the criminal justice system, in terms of the court system, as well as the police departments?
Yes, I do. And I think we're taking the steps to fix that. It's one thing for us to sit there and point fingers at each other and say that there is racism or there isn't racism. It's another thing for us to actually just get in there and try to do the work to figure it out. And there's ways that we can do that, Jim. I think we have to implement and incorporate robust implicit and racial bias training programs, both in law enforcement and in the state attorney's offices and also in our public defender's offices.
Tell me something about yourself that people might be surprised by.
Let's see. I'm pretty boring, but I love sports. I'm a competitive sports guy. I played high school football. I was pretty good at it. I was offered several scholarships around the country to play football. I was offered a partial scholarship to play football at the University of Florida. So that's not embarrassing. I didn't get to finish or play
What was
on
your
the football
position?
team.
What did you play?
I was a strong safety. I played defensive back, and also I played linebacker and some running back in high school. Didn't get an opportunity to finish it through at University of Florida.
So when you're back there, so as a strong safety, and you're back there looking to make a hit. So talk to me about, mentally, how does that apply, you think, today to what you're going to be having to do?
Yeah, so when I played football, and especially playing defensive back or on the defensive side of the ball, you're taught to be aggressive, but you had to be smart, right? As a safety, normally you're the last line of defense back there. You're trying to defend a pass, or if there's a running back that's getting across the line of scrimmage, you're oftentimes the last line of defense. And so you have to be smart, but you also have to be aggressive. And I think those are qualities that you need as your next state attorney.
4 years ago, the criminal justice system in Broward was run by a white male public defender, a white male state attorney, and a white male sheriff. Today, all three of those positions are now going to be held after November by black men.
Yeah.
This is an historic moment. What do you think it says about Broward County?
It says that it has changed. The time is now. I think the time is now for those members of a marginalized community to be able to stand up and speak up and take ownership and take leadership. But also, it's saying that many of our white counterparts, they're open to the idea of having a diverse leadership, and that they truly feel that we're qualified and able to take the lead in some of these positions. It's an exciting time. I think it's a great time, and it's a great showing for Broward County of the diversity that we have. And I truly believe we need to have more women in leadership in Broward County. And I'll tell you this much: I hope that the next state attorney in Broward County, when I'm done, is a woman. And I will advocate for that. And we need more women of power in Broward County, and we need more diversity. And diversity is a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
When we come back, Congresswoman Debbie Murkowski-Powell.